The most important part of the space program is the ability to launch a payload into space. In this tutorial, I'll teach you how to build an orbital rocket, and the next video coming out shortly, I'll teach you how to fly it. You will need metal for building fuel tanks, aluminum works well, hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide for rocket fuel, explosives for decouplers, a guidance system, rocket engines, and a payload you want to transport into space. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I only have 29 subscribers, so it'd help out a lot if you did. In order to reach orbit, you need to be going fast, like really fast. In order to reach orbit, you need to be traveling roughly 7.9 kilometers a second. Not even a 16-year-old in a Honda Civic will reach that speed. You also need to be 100 kilometers above the surface to avoid air resistance from slowing you down. As you would expect, special techniques are used to reach such high speeds. Rockets use something called staging to do this. Let's first just pretend like air resistance doesn't exist, for the sake of simplicity. If you have a rocket and you add fuel to the rocket, it can now go faster because it can accelerate longer because it has more fuel. But each time you add more fuel, you add more weight, which reduces the speed of your rocket. This means that you get diminishing returns for each kilogram of fuel you add to your rocket. Eventually, your rocket gets so heavy it can't even lift itself off the ground. This is where staging comes in. Staging is like stacking two rockets on top of each other. The first rocket, or lower stage, fires its engines, and when it runs out of fuel, it is jettisoned, shedding the weight of the old fuel tanks and engines, and the lower stage simply falls into the ocean, or if you're the CNSA, you let it fall on someone's house. Then, the second rocket, or upper stage, fires its engines and flies all the way to orbit. This technique allows rockets to fly much faster. Rockets can have 2, 3, or even 4 stages. The rocket we will be building in this video will be based off the Chinese Long March 2D rocket, since it is a fairly simple design. This rocket is a 2-stage to orbit launch vehicle that can bring 3.5 metric tons to orbit. First, we will build the lower stage. Make a cylindrical tank with metal 3.35 meters in diameter and 28 meters tall. Split the fuel tank into 2 sections and fill one section up with unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine and fill the other section up with nitrogen tetroxide. These fuels are hypergolic, which means they explode immediately upon contact, which means that engines that use these fuels don't need ignition systems. Be especially careful with unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine. This stuff is more toxic than YouTube clickbait. Now, add 4 YF-21C rocket engines. These engines are fairly easy to build because they use a simple, tried-and-true gas generator design, and like I mentioned before, don't need ignition systems. Add 4 fins for stability. Let's build the Interstage. On the Long March 2D rocket, this is a simple metal truss-like piece with some explosive bolts to separate the 2 stages. Now let's move on to the upper stage. Build another cylindrical fuel tank 3.35 meters in diameter, but this time shorten it to 10.9 meters long. Again, split this fuel tank into 2 sections and fill those up with unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. Now add 1 YF-22C engine and 4 YF-23C engines. Finally, let's build the fairings. To do this, simply build a cylinder with a cone shape on top and slice it in half. Then connect the 2 pieces with explosive bolts. Also, remember to add a computer guidance system somewhere on your rocket, so that you can actually control your rocket. Now your rocket is complete. In the next video, which should be coming out shortly, I'll explain how to fly a rocket into orbit. Please like and subscribe, and tap the bell so you can see the next video. Goodbye!